Okay, so when you're a loner, it's always tough to stick to your goals, be it little things or grand plans. I know it's kind of cliche, but every year I've always had the same New Year's resolutions, and you know, that is to get in a good routine, get in shape, sort out my finances better, and have some projects to work on, some personal projects. These resolutions are so broad and vague, and every year I either give up after a couple of days or constantly put them off. So, like, I'll wait until Easter to start, then summer to start, and then I'll think, wow, it's too hot in the summer, I'll wait till it's cooler so I can think better. And then autumn will come by, and it'll be winter, it'll be too cold then to do anything, and by then it's just the end of the year. And then I always tell myself, you know what, I tried this year, but next year it'll be different. I think that, unfortunately, this is the case for a lot of people, like most people, but when you live the life of a loner, then it's particularly hard because, like, while you may have some goals, you lack any kind of accountability, and recently I've realised that having no accountability is a big part of why I never progress or even start with any of my New Year's and my life goals. But, like I say every year, this year's going to be different, 2026. However, this time, I intend on having at least some accountability, and to plan out the goals with at least some specific goals. So, like I said with my previous resolutions, they were so broad, just get in shape, what does that mean? So, for each of my goals, I'm going to have a specific target, and I'm going to try and hit that by the end of the year. So these main goals are to get into a good routine, to work on my health, to work on my finances, and to have some small projects to work on, which will actually help to keep me accountable. So, starting with the good routine. When you live like a life of a loner, just by yourself, it's easy just to completely fall out of any routine, particularly if you have some significant amount of time off work. So normally I'd have to go to work for 8 every day, but over Christmas, kind of generously, or perhaps too generously, my employer gives everyone 2 weeks off. And now, that sounds great for some people, but for me that's just 2 weeks of just doing nothing. Like, I need to find something to get on with, and it completely destroys any semblance of a routine that I had. So the goal for my good routine is to try and get up at 4:30 every morning. And this will be the foundation of everything else that comes after this. Now, that sounds tough, and it's quite a drastic change, for someone who's been getting up at 10, 11, 12. But I found if you are consistent with it every single day, then eventually you get so completely used to it that, when you go to bed at 8:30, 9 in the evening, you just fall asleep straight away, and you can just feel really exhausted if you stay up any later than that. So the next thing's about working on my health, and that's going to be split up into 3 little sub-goals, I suppose, or sub-plans, which will be, number 1, going to the gym, number 2, a weight loss goal, so a target weight loss, which I'll achieve through gym and dieting, and number 3, which is quite an important one for me, is just to quit alcohol. Quit it completely. When you are living a loner lifestyle, and you haven't got anyone holding you accountable, it's easy to fall into these vices, so like alcohol, too much video games, too much smoking, something along those lines. And while I've tried in the past, like just drinking on Fridays or just drinking on weekends, I found that it always, for me at least, it always tends to just spiral into drinking almost every day, and it really doesn't help to be a self-described high-functioning alcoholic, which I know is a controversial term these days amongst the alcoholics community or the alcohol quitting community, but I was able to drink as much as I wanted and go to work the next day with no real effects. But yeah, so gym. The plan for the gym is to go 3 times a week, so that's going to be initially every Tuesday morning, so this is a morning thing as well, before work, and that's why I'm getting up early. So Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, and Sunday morning. I particularly like Sunday morning because that's when it's the most quiet. It's absolutely dead. No one wants to go to gym on a Sunday morning. On weekdays, it might sound crazy that people are going at 5 a.m, but it is still reasonably busy. And for me, that's like more than 5 or 10 people. That counts as busy for me. Mainly because I don't like queuing up for equipment. Now I'm going to try and optimize my workouts as much as possible because I don't want to just be there for hours and hours. Like, I know some people who go to the gym for, 3 hours or something ridiculous because they go at a busy time and they do all kinds of nonsense, crazy workouts. But I'm going to be following the Starting Strength program, so the one that Mark Rippetoe has been promoting for years and such. And that's just focused around the main barbell power lifts. So that's squatting, bench pressing, overhead pressing, deadlifting, rows, and I think that's probably it. I think the initial one had power cleans in as an alternative for rows, but I don't have the technical proficiency for that, and I don't really want to be paying someone to train me to power clean. So I'm doing rows instead. And with this, I have some goals by the end of the year. So this is something I've been able to achieve before, but we'll see this year if I can achieve it again as a much older person. So that is to be able to squat at least 100 kilograms consistently, bench press at least 80 kilograms consistently, overhead press 50 kilograms consistently, deadlift, I've got no idea to be honest. I can't ever remember what my max has been in the past, so somewhere higher than squats I suppose. That's one that I'm less interested in. And rows, I've never really done them before, so I'll have to come up with a goal after getting the hang of it. I think it's somewhere in between overhead pressing and bench pressing generally you could do with rows. And we'll see how that goes. I think there's some reasonable goals for the gym. Now for weight loss, I currently weigh in at 94 kilograms, I think it is. I weighed myself this morning. And based upon the BMI chart for my height and age, I understand I should be below 88 kilograms, otherwise I'm considered overweight. And while I know there's some controversy about this when it comes to people who work out, muscle mass, etc., I think 88 kilograms is a good thing to aim for, and this is going to be done predominantly through dieting, a bit of cardio, and hopefully the gym's going to contribute towards that. Once I get to that, I'm sure I can then start packing on the muscle and upping my lifts. But yeah, I think that covers my health. It's time to move on to my finances. Now, I've not really considered my finances for a number of years now. I just automatically invest a bit of money each month and save a bit of money, except for the months where I've got like huge issues. So like over Christmas, I had a roof issue and my roof was leaking and I kind of had to get that fixed ASAP and it was pretty expensive, but I don't want my house to be, destroyed by water damage. But yeah, my investment goal for the year is to have at least £50,000 in investments by the end of 2026, which I think is quite reasonable because I have something like £40,000 at the moment invested. And even though I don't put in, enough money each month at the moment to hit £10,000 by the end of the year, I've started applying for like some extra little jobs. So things I can do in the evening or the weekend, because one of the things is like someone living the loner lifestyle that I have is way too much time, so much free time. Like I said, I've optimized my life as much as I can through where I live, what I eat, what I do, that sort of thing. And I just find myself with so much time just doing nothing. So a bit of extra work isn't going to kill me. And because a lot of these little jobs are in supermarkets and such, it might help save me money as well, based on the various discount schemes they have available for employees. And while that's the main goal, there's some small other goals, so I want to try and avoid spending all the small amounts of money on just junk throughout the week. So in the past, I've tried to have days where I haven't spent any money, because at work, I get an hour's lunch break, and it's so tempting just to go to the shops and buy some candy or some chips or something like that. I need to just stop doing that, bring some lunch to work. And what I'm going to start doing is reviewing my monthly spending. So all the extra money I've spent on just nonsense that could otherwise have been put to savings or investments. And that comes to the final thing then, so some projects for myself to work on, and that leads to this channel actually. So the big project is this little YouTube channel that I've started, and it's something that I really want to regularly work on, and I want to learn as much as I can about different ways of getting content on here, how to make videos. And the fact that this channel is, I suppose, about my life and, my opinions on things I think, then it's going to be one of the main drivers to keep me accountable to these. So one thing I'd like to do, it might be a bit cringe, is have sort of monthly updates on my progress of these goals to see where I am. And also I'll be able to see any, because these videos will be quite similar, I'll be able to see any progress in my presentation skills and communication and such. Although of course this isn't going to be the main focus of the channel, it's not just going to be about me going to the gym. There's enough channels out there about that sort of thing. And it's a bit strange doing it over video game content, just this sort of thing. But I've tried using like habit trackers in the past, and I find, I always forget to put the information in or get bored of it, or trying to write down in a journal, for example, I just forget to do it. But if I've got this channel to work on, then it'll always be something I can do each month. And with the channel, the overall goal is to do at the very, very minimum at least one video a week, like one long form content video. And I would like to do, 2 a week, and even more if possible, because any amount of videos is, an opportunity to practice speaking and the whole process. If I only record once a week, I'm not going to really progress, I don't think. Especially at times like this, so it is very awkward, just speaking to yourself inside an empty house. But the last time I spoke to anyone, and this is the 4th of January today, the last time I spoke to anyone, with my voice that is, was on Christmas Day, so it's something I need to keep in practice. So like under the Great Lockdown, for example, I did go for like a ridiculous amount of time without speaking to someone, but I had to actually relearn how to speak afterwards, almost, which was pretty funny. And like I said, I want to try all different things, so I'd love to try some scripted videos, some unscripted videos, like this video for example. It's got some notes, but there's no like real script. And I'd like to, make some shorts as well, to see how that sort of process works, to be able to more concisely give advice and opinions and ideas. And on top of that, I don't just want to be talking over video game footage. Like I'd like to take some videos with, my phone or a GoPro like outside, or even eventually like some face cam footage if, I become happy with my appearance and weight loss and such. But yeah, that's it then, I suppose, for my goals of the year, and how I'm going to use this channel to lock in and try and at least accomplish some of them this year. All of them. Like, I don't think any of these goals are unreasonable to achieve, unless, I have some kind of injury or like there's a huge market crash and I lose all my money. But at the very least, I suppose the one video a week thing is one thing that I shouldn't miss out on. I will say that all of these goals are purely solo things, so solo goals. So there's nothing about like relationships and such. And to be honest, this isn't really something I'm interested in, at least at the moment. Because like when you live the life of a loner, then you kind of get used to enjoying your own company. But yeah, that's the end of this chat. Thanks for listening if you've got all the way to the end. And yeah, this is the Warm Keyboard channel, and I'll see you in the next video.
Another thing you could do for me, suitable for someone of your particular talents.